welcome to this week's installment of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale with Don Henninger. I'm Don, and with me this week is Raul Zubia.
Hello, everyone.
Raul sitting in for Kevin. Kevin's a little bit under the weather, so we're going to bring another all-star to our game one more week. And maybe, who knows, if, we talked about it in the last podcast last week. You did a great job, and Kevin was on the phone already saying, hey, make sure you don't forget about me, okay?
Thank you.
Don't worry, Kevin. You're safe out there, buddy, because we're all friends here.
Very.
But, what I love about Kevin, and Raul, I'll say the same thing about you. You guys are compassionate people, and so we always know that about you and Kevin. But we've got a compassionate person with us today that takes the compassion and empathy to a whole new level. And her name is Bina Coleman of Compassionate Callers in Scottsdale. Compassionate Callers is a phone call service that allows your loved ones who are in need of care to know that they've got somebody to speak to and that they will be checked on to make sure that they're safe and secure. It's really a great service to families who have busy lives and want to make sure that their loved ones get the care they need.
Exactly.
And it can set up other services like grocery delivery, transportation, and even set up meal programs that can be done on a virtual basis. So Bina, wow, what a company. I think amazing work. I just love these kind of guests.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we get into the company, let's talk a little bit about your background. How are you an Arizona native? Where did you come from? And then what was your career before this?
So I am an Arizona native, born and raised, and something I find interesting, and most people do, both my parents went to high school here, which is very rare. Scottsdale here. So
do you know exactly where?
Yes, I do. Tomorow and Camelback, which is not a school anymore.
At least there's one SUSD.
So, yes.
That's awesome.
That I know.
Yeah.
It is really is a small Coronado.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool. Where did you go?
Horizon.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, native, born and raised. And my background is that I have a degree in gerontology, which is the study of the elderly, which is very rare and niche. And so I always have to say the study of the elderly, because in case people don't know. And so I've been working in this industry for over a decade, doing care coordination, selling home health, home care, and hospice services. So on a personal level, I actually went through with my own father, getting diagnosed with dementia in his late 50s and passing in his early 60s, our own journey. And I was working in this industry on top of being a true sandwich generation caregiver, with raising my own family, being a wife, having 2 little kids. We were lucky enough, we were able to place them in a beautiful, beautiful place in Scottsdale, but I was still visiting somebody in a memory care unit when I was doing everything else. So it kind of brought everything together to create Compassionate Callers, to be honest. Yeah.
What inspired you to get into gerontology?
So that's a good question. So my parents, in 1996, brought a company called Home and Said Senior Care to the Valley. They owned 4 franchises for a long time. They were one of the first home care agencies ever in the Valley. Now there's over 500 or 600, I think, but they were the first in 1996. So I always joke, but my brother and I ate, breathed, slept home care services. So it was kind of a no-brainer just to go, I guess, into the family business, although they sold over 12 years ago at this point. But I think it was just all I knew. And I love it. I love the industry.
It was in your soul.
It's in my soul. Yeah. And truthfully, there's so many people to help. We joke in the industry, but we're in a silver tsunami. Like this is here. Yeah. It used to be coming, but I think we're here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious. So we know your journey as to why you had that with your personal story, but somehow the entrepreneurial light bulb went on your head. You said, we can make a business out of this as well as a service for people that we know need. So how did that all come together?
That's a good question too. I think, I don't know. I just had this idea for so long. For so long, I had this idea, sitting on it for over a year. And I think it was one of those things. I said, if I do not start this, I will regret it. And one morning in April, just kind of started it. I sent out my first email blast with all the contacts I have already in the industry. It is a nationwide service, but because it's nothing in person, it's all calls, but I live here. I have my contacts here. So I just sent my first email blast and kind of just went running with it, I guess.
Wow.
So when you did your first email blast, what kind of response did you get?
So especially for people in the elderly industry, love it. They've never heard of anything like this before. I can't take all the credit. There are other services like this throughout the country. There's just not many.
Yeah.
But for like people in the industry who truly are dealing with this every day, they're like, this is genius. It's smart. It's a smart idea. It's a smart, affordable service. It's educating people that this is out there. It's available to everybody. At this point, I say it's for anyone at any age, because the more I'm in this, I see and hear stories of latchkey kids and parents that are working full time and they can't be home after school. And if the school can't get after school programming due to funding or shortage of staff, their kids are going home alone. Right. So we can do that too for very busy parents.
So you just touched on something. So it's not all geriatric. You will make calls to others, to latchkey kids, to maybe those that are physically disabled. That's
a big one for me too. Yep. You are right. So, the physically disabled and then even like high functioning autistic adults who live alone, they're still adults. They work full time. They don't need mom and dad calling every night. Mom and dad worry. So we come in, we're that friend, we're there checking on them. And for mom and dad, ignorance is bliss. If you don't hear from us, all is good. It's when you hear from us where you're like, oh God, where is he?
So we'll talk about the emotional part of it in just a second, but let's talk about the business part of it. Mm-hmm. So now you had to become a business owner.
Yeah.
What was it like? Raw's a former banker, so you could probably had to go to the banker and make a business case for this too, right? Yeah, exactly. So how did you put your business hat on? So now you've created a business. To talk a little bit about behind the curtain, what's happening with your business?
It's a lot. It's all me. So I'm the one who's doing the marketing, the calling, you name it. The invoicing, I mean, it's all me. I'm sure I'm falling between the cracks on stuff, but I love it. It's very cool. It's a very cool process. And also I'm meeting so many entrepreneurs that I had no idea were out there. So I think that part's really cool that we can count on each other too, because I'm not a banker. I'm not a business person. I basically am a social worker with a gerontology degree.
Right.
And so every day I'm learning something, but I love it. I do love it.
Do you see a day as your service and your business grows that you're going to have to start really maybe expanding and getting volunteers or hiring people or really taking it to another level?
I look forward to that day. I look forward to when I can hire my callers, volunteers too, callers, volunteer, either. Yes, and I will train them all since, again, I have this degree. I've done care coordination in the past. I don't want to take someone off the street. I need someone who may have worked with seniors before. Maybe they're retired. They're just home. I can find all that out, but I want someone who can pick up on cues over the phone.
That looks like a scalable business, Raul. If you were a banker, you're saying, look at this, saying
exactly, especially where we are.
Yeah, silver tsunami. More and more sandwich generation. More people. I mean, if you got
silver tsunami,
this, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm a banker. I'm saying, hey, I'm.
I know. I'm like, tell me your thoughts, Raul.
Exactly. So, as you mentioned before that there were some other outfits like this across the country. Have you learned on best practices from other businesses like this? And did you have to pick up? It seems like you got a natural fit for it anyway, so maybe not, right?
Yeah, I've touched base with a woman who lives in Seattle. She started one actually very, very soon around when I did. And we were both shocked, like truly could not believe we both started this kind of business. We've touched base a few times, but yeah, there's so few of us doing this that it's kind of not something like, I wish we had a bigger network where we could really bounce ideas off each other.
Someday.
So
Yeah.
I hope.
Coming, right?
Yeah.
It will. I think it will. Cause like I said earlier, and you said earlier, silver tsunami's here. We need that kind of help.
Yeah. And not everyone can afford home care, which is the most amazing thing. I get it.
Totally.
It can add up quickly. And so I always say I'm that affordable service that can come in and still call your loved ones when you're busy.
You must have a treasure trove of memorable moments.
Yeah.
Where you've really made a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what you've experienced there.
Yeah, there's been a few. I have one client, I call him 4 times a day, very specific for medicine. It has to be very specific times. And he's wonderful. He is so kind, and he loves when we chat. He has invited my family to any party you can imagine. He's having. He just to yesterday he said, "Are you free for Thanksgiving?" I said, "I do have plans. I'm sorry."
Oh well, he's free for Thanksgiving, right? Yeah.
He's like, "You can always come to my daughter's." I'm like, "I know, thank you."
Nice.
Yeah. So
it's cool.
Yeah, it's very special, and then I get to know their families too, because the people who are signing up. The people that I call, we touch base every once in a while if there's an issue or whatever. And it's nice, I think, for them too, like, okay, this other person is so on top of it.
Yeah. Because somebody's got to be paying attention. You just can't, as you experienced yourself, you just can't do that all the time.
Yep.
Call you.
No,
Who could call somebody 4 times a day if you're out working and have a family, right?
Correct.
It's a lot. It's a lot to put on yourself.
Yeah. What about the other side of that? So what happens if you're putting calls out and nobody's answering?
Yes, good question. So every single client has an assessment done for free, where we go through everything. Why are we calling for that reason at that time specifically? So for the medicine or the meal, whatever the case is. But then we also have a emergency protocol. So this is kind of our emergency protocol. If I call that first time and they don't pick up, I wait about 5 minutes to try again. Bathroom, they just couldn't get to the phone. They're walking slower, whatever the case.
Right.
Yeah.
If I try that second time and they don't pick up, we spring right into action. While we're doing that assessment, we go through who that emergency contact would be. So it doesn't have to be the person that signed them up. It can be 911, the non-emergency number. It could be a hospital. It could be a home care agency that's also working with them. Could be a family member. So it's whoever's at first on that list, we spring right into action, and then we call number 2 to let them know.
So checks start happening.
Oh, yeah. Another client of mine, I have called the non-emergency multiple times. They're number 1 for emergency, and then I called his sister. She's older as well, and she lives in Connecticut. She can't do anything. So after I call 911, I just let her know, listen, 911 or non-emergency, they're going to be calling me back. They always call me back. And then I let her know he's fine. He's fine. He just didn't pick up his phone, and he is watching TV.
Are the clients mostly in private homes, in their own homes or apartments or whatever?
Yep, they have been. Yeah. I will call anywhere, and this is not a slight on anybody, but we're in a caregiver shortage nationwide. Yeah. So I always say if communities or home care agencies cannot find caregivers, hire us, contract with us, and we will make those calls so that the residents or their clients can still get personal touches, that medication reminder where they don't have the time to do a medication reminder and also be with a person that needs nursing. Yeah.
So there's a caregiver shortage, huh? I didn't realize we always hear about nursing shortages.
Right.
But I didn't realize there was that makes sense. There's a caregiver shortage too, right?
It's tough.
Is it getting worse too?
It's getting worse as the tsunami's coming in. Right. So it's one of those things to be very on top of or just kind of watch.
You say you do this all by yourself, so this is 24/7.
It is 24/7. I do stop my 9 p.m. right now is my latest call. 7 a.m. is my earliest right now.
Okay. Can you go out on vacation?
Yes, and in the fact that it is remote. I mean, it's all over the phone because it is nationwide. So yes.
As long as you have a phone.
As long as you have a phone, truly. Have phone, will travel, will vacation. I mean, there's a few things coming up. We are taking our kids to Disney for their first time. That's very special.
Sure.
I want to be very present, so I'm trying to figure that out. But yes, it's me. It's a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
The entrepreneurial spirit.
Exactly.
Kind of a day when she's going to be hiring people. You mark my words.
Yeah,
we'll have her back in a couple
doubt.
of years.
Thank you.
The staff this big.
So are you taking volunteer callers now?
One woman, it's funny you say that. One woman just reached out to me, and wonderful woman, and sent me all her references, and she wants to volunteer to call. And I said, well, this is perfect timing.
Yeah, no kidding.
Literally was trying to figure out something for this trip coming up.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, very, very nice.
And I assume you're looking for those volunteers, you're looking for long-term people who are going to stick around, not a call night or anything like that so you want, in the case of this person, you want somebody who wants to be there every single day to make those calls.
Yeah. I understand that could be a lot. It is a lot, but I understand for like a volunteer, maybe they don't want to do it 7 days a week.
Sure.
Maybe they want to do 3 or 4. Yeah. So that's my ultimate goal is to get that consistency. Same with what I always sold when I did my home care sales. You want that consistency. So if you knew that volunteer A was calling you Monday through Thursday and you knew volunteer was B was calling you Friday through Sunday, you're good. You know that's happening.
Are there groups out there that would make a natural resource for you for volunteers? I got to think there would be, right?
And that's what I was trying to figure out during the questioning. Is,
I don't know what they. I mean, we're all Scottsdale leadership grads.
Yeah.
We're all and I, and so I mean, that's not that this would be a Scottsdale leadership deal, but groups like that have that are public service minded or compassionate minded. You got to maybe even with retirees, you got to think
retirees was the
like
big
that,
one.
right? Yeah.
The other one I will tell you is I'm trying to get in with social work school at ASU because they all need hours.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
They all need hours to graduate.
Yeah.
So knocking on those doors.
Well, they're all looking at volunteer service.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
And I would imagine I can even think of taking it. Maybe this. You tell me if this is a good idea. At a high school level.
Yes, I have thought of this because I live right near a high school, and I was like, "Oh, why not seniors?"
Yeah.
My only concern is I don't want. I was a senior in high school once. We all were seniors in high school once. Are they going to be flaky? Are they going to pick up on clues? Are they just going to be like, right, I picked up. I got to go with my friends now. Yeah. So I don't know. That's my only holding me back, but I do agree. I thought of it too.
Well, the good news is they're always on their phones.
Yeah, exactly.
They're always on their
You might
phones.
as well get something out of it.
That'd be wild. So you've got a couple different levels of service that you provide as a book company. So talk a little bit about how it's structured and what people can get.
Yeah. So we have 3 packages. Like I mentioned earlier, every single package will get you that assessment and that emergency protocol. The first package is those up to 5 calls a day, 7 days a week, but they're 5-minute calls. The second package is everything I just mentioned, plus you get a monthly activity kit sent to the home. It's so amazing, this activity kit. It's large print books, puzzles, memory games. So if your loved one is going through maybe some cognitive decline, there's stuff that is going to be sent to them to work on that. Every single game that is sent has large print instructions that is laminated. So, everything was really thought of. I use a third party for that, and they're wonderful. And then the calls are going to be up to 7 minutes for that one. And then the last package, you get all of that. The calls jump up to 10 minutes. And that's where you said earlier, you get the, I say Instacart just because it's the biggest, but I do nothing in person again, but the grocery delivery through Instacart, or there's so many meal programs out there that are designated just for seniors that people don't even know about, where I can get those delivered. I say anything that can be sent to the home and then brought into the home, I can get delivered.
That's cool. So 10 minutes, this may be a silly question, but 10 minutes could be a long time to have a phone call.
Yeah.
What do you, after that, maybe the first minute, maybe you got 9 more minutes to go. What are you going to talk about sometimes?
So that's funny. You're the first person to say that. Everyone else is like, 10 minutes, that's it? They're going to want to talk for hours.
The other way, what if they
shut
down after 1 minute? What do you talk about for 9 more?
Well, it is a good question because I have one guy, he pays for 5 minutes and I love him, so it's okay. But he usually goes on for 17 to 19 minutes.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, that can't go on forever, but it's great for now. But then I have another guy, he kills me. Every time I call him, if it's Thursday, Friday, or Sunday, whatever the football days are.
Okay.
Yeah. When I call, what are you up to? He said, I was watching my football game. I said, all right, you picked up. It's cool. I know you're good. We'll talk tomorrow.
Right. Or to fill the 10 minutes, I mean, if you get to the point, maybe you're just reading a story to somebody or something.
Yeah, or the reason I really like the activity kit, I will tell you, is because it's something to talk about.
Yeah.
So if somebody is really lonely, they're not getting out much, and having that activity kit, I think is really, really nice because, like I said, it could be a book, like you mentioned, a game, just something new to talk about.
So you're a compassionate person, obviously, because of what you put together. How do we build more compassion into our world today?
That's a good question.
And because we have a compassionate expert right here.
I know.
Yes,
I know.
yes.
I try to do this with my kids. I hope I do this, but really, truthfully, just asking people how they are. To me, it's so easy, and I don't think it gets done enough.
I agree.
I just think people like talking about themselves. We know they do, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And that's great. It is great. It's fine. But when you're done, just ask, even if you don't care. And how are you? How's your kids? Whatever you guys are talking about. Yeah. And I think it just shows a little empathy that, you just listen to me. Let's talk about you now. And it's nice. It's a nice way to show somebody you care.
it occurs to me, Raul, too, that when you ask those questions, then you got to become a listener.
Yes.
And you have to be an authentic listener.
Mm-hmm.
How many times you walk by somebody's, how you doing? You want them to say fine and keep moving, right?
Yeah.
But we say, how you doing? Say, well, let me tell you. I've had this line. They go on for a few minutes. Well, you better be prepared to listen and give that person your full attention, or else it's not sincere.
They know it's not exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we're missing in the world more than anything is the ability for people to actually listen to each other.
Everyone's so fast paced, I guess. Like the short TikToks or on the phone, or it's hard. I'm not perfect. I'm on my phone. It's like you just got to be cognitive to put your phone down and listen, like you said, and really care. Are
there issues of technology that would come into your business model, essentially? I mean, there's so much technology out there.
So much technology. Right? What I really look forward to, because I think the generation I'm kind of hitting now is not there yet, but it's coming, is the FaceTime.
Yeah, right.
For many reasons, to be honest, but a big one is, are they actually safe where they are? Right. Can I see where they are? Yeah. Can I see that they physically took their medicine? There's a few things I think the FaceTime really would be great. Yeah. We're just not there with the people I'm helping yet. Like I always ask at the assessment, and not once has someone been like, oh yeah, they like it. No one likes it yet. So I think, when people are getting older that are a little younger now, it will be better. And then texting, I think too, listen, it's so wonderful to get that personal touch, but sometimes people are busy too, even the people I call. And so you don't want to interrupt them. So if they tell me at, let's say, the 8 a.m. call that at noon they have lunch with a friend, I will text them at that noon and say, this is your noon call. We'll talk in a little bit, but you are not forgotten.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Do you find a lot of your clients use texting?
2 do.
2 out of hundreds?
I wish hundreds.
Oh, sorry.
That's what she's got to hire some people, right?
I know. If I had hundreds, everyone would be hired. 2 do, and then the others don't. So, okay. Yeah.
So how do you get the word out that you're here? How do you market yourself?
So, doing podcasts. I was on the radio.
We're going to help you.
Yes, you are. The newspapers that you saw, I've been in a few of those, which has been very wonderful. I really am pounding the pavement. I'm going to hospitals, discharge case managers, home care agencies. I know it's like old school, I guess, to pound the pavement, but I don't know how, it's so new and it's so unique. Correct. I need to educate people that this service is out there.
Well, and families need to hear about you because it's not the clients that are going to call. It's the families. Yes. So you got to get to the families.
Exactly. Right? And that's why I figure if the case manager at a hospital is discharging, they'll talk to the family upon discharge. Or my big pull is the sandwich generation caregiver who may be still working full time. They have an elderly loved one. Maybe they're retired, but they're busy. They have grandkids, or they're golfing, or they're traveling, and calling their loved one every day. It's just not part of their schedule, which is fine. It's nothing to feel guilty about. But then you hire compassionate callers, and you really can just feel good. Take that off your plate.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I was going to ask that question about whether families actually feel guilty that they're not able to do this, the amount of call volume that you're doing to make sure everybody's safe and sound.
I don't think so, truthfully, because, and I will tell you why. I need a better word for this, but I always say, let compassionate callers be the nag. Let me and compassion callers be the one to say, it's medicine time. It's time to brush your teeth. And then when they do speak to their loved one, they can be a loved one. They can talk about the grandkids or vacation. They don't have to feel so much pressure to make sure their parent's okay.
Yeah. And that's a tough one.
Yeah, it is. It is a tough one to answer too, because yes, of course, people want to care and do care. It's a fine line. Yeah.
And it's not just like we talked before. A lot of it is elderly, obviously, but some is children in need, adults in need,
correct,
young adults in need, autistic patients, that kind of deal.
Yeah,
and that can be tough.
Yeah, it can be. There's no question.
So, I mean, from that standpoint, it takes the guilt away from it. That somebody's at least getting the care they need at that point anyway.
And if they're lonely, if they're any of what you just mentioned, adult with autism, elderly, it's so nice to have a different person to talk to.
Yes.
I really believe that. It's like, I think they'll be more open and honest about how they really may be feeling at the moment. Like, oh, my back does hurt. But with their own daughter, they're not going to be like, oh, my back hurts. They don't want to worry their daughter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a tough one there. So looking down the road, maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, where do you see Compassionate Callers?
Truthfully, I would love to see Compassionate Callers be an option with many different either home care agencies, home health agencies. I don't mean to harp on this, but if the caregiver aspect of it, we're losing caregivers, you still have these patients to care for. So there will be a need for this. I'd like Compassionate Callers to just be able to reach so many different people wherever they live and call home.
I've got to believe there's a business model that goes beyond what you're doing right now.
I would think so too.
Yeah. I thank God my husband went to business school because
good. I'm sure that does help.
He'll help me with that part.
Yeah, good.
I'm the brainchild of this idea.
What's your husband do?
He's a director of product.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, here's a product.
There's
for
a
it.
product.
Here's the product, sir.
Product, right?
Well, I think you're onto something. I really do. And I'd be shocked if we don't call you back for a repeat on our maybe 250th podcast.
I like it.
To show how much you've grown your company and spread your compassion.
Thank you.
Further across our city and everywhere else that you're doing business as well.
Thank you, guys.
I think it's great.
I appreciate it so much. It's so nice to know when other people can see the power of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, I also think about church groups.
Oh, yeah. Church groups are huge.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and for anyone who's listening, I forgot about this part. I touched on the whole if people are still working and they have elderly loved ones, but for HR brokers, this can also be an HR benefit to employees. So when they're at work, I should have brought this up earlier.
That's a great thing.
Yeah,
right.
I have a whole presentation on it, but right off the bat, if you're a full-time employee with a full-time family caregiver job, in air quotes, you are 18.5% less productive. So if you allow a service like Compassionate Callers to be the ones to talk to your loved ones during the day, you can be productive at work. You don't need to worry about leaving your desk to call them, taking the calls, making sure your mom ate or didn't fall. We do all that.
Wow. Think about the small business market.
Yeah.
You have small business people, and you're a small business person, but if you small business people with one or two people, they can't do this.
No.
So another marketing opportunity would be just getting connected with the groups like theirs, Scottsdale Chamber, stuff like that, and getting your word out amongst. That could be a really strong niche. You're going places. I can see it.
I can see
this, man. I can see it.
So too.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you, guys.
That's awesome. Bina, what a delight it's been to have you today. I mean, it's just I'm so inspired by the work that you do.
Thank you.
And the compassion you bring to the table here and to our community overall. It's just awesome to be able to get a chance to catch up with you and talk about what you're doing.
Yeah, and on a personal level, my father also went through dementia.
I'm sorry.
Got it at 70, died at 80, so the last 10 years. And it's tough for families the first time experiencing it. So from a personal standpoint, thank you very much for what you do, because it's not easy for the family, and it's not easy for you also to be on the outside looking in.
And I want to say thank you for sharing that, because I always say I do this every day, but you and your family might never have dealt with it before. So if someone also has questions, I love being a resource of helping with. I might not be able to be the one you need at this time, but I have other people I can put you in touch with.
Yeah. So
that's really
thank
powerful.
you for that.
Oh, that's it. It really. This one strikes me in the heart.
Yeah.
Not just in the head, but in the heart.
No, in the heart.
This
heart
one goes
first.
to the heart. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Bina, thanks so much for all you do with Compassionate Callers. We hope all of you have been inspired by her story like Raul and I have been today. And you know what? Let's all look for ways to have more compassion in our lives. And thanks for listening. We look forward to being back with you again for our next edition of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale.